Are you in the market for a new home and you're looking around and looking for some tips, maybe on your heating and air system? I've got 12 tips that I think you should know before you buy your next home. But before we get to those, please click that subscribe button. Thank you. Hey guys, so in this video, I've got 12 tips for you if you are in the market for buying your next home that you should know before you buy it about your heating and air system. And the first one would be that if you are buying a house and you get a home inspection done, home inspectors are not heating and air experts. In fact, I've actually talked to some home inspectors and we've discussed, how they check systems and things like that. A lot of times they'll just turn them on in each of the two stages of, heating and cooling. And then sometimes if it's in heating, they'll try emergency heating and just make sure that they blow warm or cool. And that's the end of it. Some home inspectors don't go any further than that. Some will dig a little deeper. But again, unless they have actual experience with heating and air systems, they might be able to point out things that are visually wrong. If there's a hole in the ductwork or a hole in the side of your indoor unit or something like that. But they won't be able to tell you if something could be about to go bad or something that could be significantly wrong unless you actually get a heating and air pro in there. And that leads me into my next tip. Tip number 2 would be if you do need to hire a home inspector or a heating and air company or whoever, and you're looking at a house, you're making sure everything's okay, you're getting your ducks in a row, make all those hires yourself. And you might say, well, look, I'm already going to have to give commission to this realtor over here. I don't want to, let them take care of it. The problem is I did a video not that long ago about realtors and some of the things that you should know when you're buying or selling a house. But ultimately, a lot of realtors, now I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of realtors will use who they need to use to get the house sold. So they don't necessarily, hire a home inspector that is going to point out every little thing wrong that you would want to know. They're just going to find a home inspector that will cross the T's, dot the I's, but, maybe point out a few things, but they still are going to do their best to help that realtor get that house sold. So tip number 2 would be hire your own contractors, hire your own home inspector, get a heating and air guy in there that you've hired that's going to look out for what's best for you. Tip number 3, a lot of heating and air guys, for them to do a proper inspection of that heating and air system, may need to charge you more than just for a checkup. So what I mean by that is before they can find out if this 10th thing, so if they're doing 10 steps here, for example, before they can do steps 9 or 10, they got to do the first 8. And that might mean, for example, to know that the airflow is good and to know that the system's going to operate well, they may have to clean the system. They may need to do a proper tune-up, clean the system up, make sure the coils are clean, make sure everything's doing like it's supposed to before they can actually know if something else is wrong. Another scenario might be they might need to add a little refrigerant to the system, and before they can figure out if the metering device or something else is wrong, they need to make sure that they can add a little refrigerant and do a proper subcool or superheat measurement. But just, do a couple things that they may need to charge you money for to know if these other things are wrong. Tip number 4, a lot of realtors will ask heating and air guys. So like me, if a realtor hires me and I go to a house, they'll ask me for a letter that says, hey, everything is good here. Everything has been checked and everything is good. And that's not that out of the ordinary. A lot of folks will do that in our industry. But I just want you to be aware that if the realtor, as I said before, if the realtor hired the heating and air guy, just because you have that letter does not necessarily mean that everything is great. One scenario might be that everything might have been good when the heating and air company was there. So the letter might say, during my inspection, everything was operable. But they are not saying that a month from now, after you've closed on the house, that everything is going to be okay. Tip number 5, a lot of realtors will work into the closing or however they end up doing it. But one of the things I've talked about in previous videos is they will sometimes have home warranties worked into it somehow. And they'll lead you to believe that that protects you in some way, shape, or form. So for example, if you were to buy the house, the hope and dream would be, hey, I've got this home warranty for at least the first year of owning the house. And if anything goes wrong with that heating and air system, I'm good. I'm covered. They're going to take care of it. And what you need to know, and I did a whole video on home warranties and all that good stuff, But ultimately, what you need to know is that may not necessarily be the case. Some of the things that could go wrong, either the home warranty won't cover it, or they could say that it was a previous issue. They can point to a lot of different reasons why they may or may not cover that problem with that heating and air system. If you're curious, look into it. Find out what the actual coverage is going to be. What are they covering? What are they actually insuring or putting a warranty on? And that way you know whether or not something is or isn't covered. Tip number 6. A lot of sellers will go with the cheapest option they can before selling the house. So for example, if they were going to put a new heating and air system in there, most likely if they're moving or if they knew they were going to be moving soon, they probably went with the cheapest contractor, the cheapest system. They were just trying to get by with spending the least amount of money, but still say, hey, look, I've got a new system at this house. And that leads me to tip number 7, which would be that you can work a lot of that sort of stuff into the closing. So for example, if you go and look at a house and you say, hey, the system needs to be replaced, or, something's wrong here, and I want to work on some sort of negotiation on getting a new system, instead of having that seller just put a new system in there, you can work into closing a certain amount of money allocated for having your own contractor that you've hired and you have decided that whatever they're going to install is great for your home, and then you can handle it yourself. That segues into tip number 8, which would be that having a new heating and air system at a house, or a certain type of heating and air system at a house, according to a lot of the information that I've found on the internet, now I'm not a realtor, but a lot of the websites that are realtors or for realtors, they all claim that that will affect the market value of that home. Tip number 9, a lot of sellers, if you go to them and say, hey, I've had my own heating and air guy look at this system, and these are some issues that I've found, these are some things that are wrong that I would like replaced or fixed, they can decide whether they will or will not take care of that. Again, I'm not a realtor, but I can tell you that here in Virginia, if the buyer says, hey, I want these list of items taken care of before I actually buy the house, a lot of sellers can decide, I'm not taking care of that. If you want the house, you can buy the house and fix that yourself, but I'm not going to fix that. Or again, as I said a moment ago, you can work it into closing possibly. And that segues into tip number 10, which is if you've already closed on that house, the seller in most cases has no obligation to take care of an issue that you may or may not have found after you've bought that house. So you definitely want to make sure everything is on the up and up, or at least that you know about it. Tip number 11, a lot of warranties on heating and air equipment or systems are not transferable to new homeowners. So if the old homeowner bought a system with an extended warranty, or it's got this great warranty, just because you're buying that house does not mean that coverage extends to you too. But some companies, either A, they will honor that warranty with a new homeowner, or B, you might have to jump through a few hoops, you might have to fill out some paperwork, or you might have to pay a little bit of money, and then it will transfer to a new homeowner. And then finally, tip number 12, I did a whole video on this particular issue, and that is a lot of realtors, again, I'm not speaking for all realtors, but a lot of realtors do not have your best interests at heart when it comes to selling or buying that house. I personally can say, I'm not mentioning names, but I have had realtors in the past ask me to not mention something or fix something or tell the homeowner about something because they know that it will kill the deal and they will not be able to get that house sold. And unfortunately, in those cases, a lot of times I didn't even know who the homeowner was. I was hired by the realtor, and the realtor said, no, don't worry about that. Just fix what you are here to do, or do this, and we're not going to worry with the problems that you're seeing. One particular example is one of our local towns here, Urbana. I had a house years ago that I was hired to get the gas furnace going, and I found that the gas valve had gone bad. But while up there in the attic, I told the realtor, look, this is not the only problem I'm seeing. I'm seeing a laundry list of things that have been neglected with this system and need to be repaired. And the realtor said, no, I just want you to do the bare minimum to get that system to blow heat so we can get this deal done. So that's it. My 12 tips before you buy that next house. Make sure you protect yourself before you buy that house, or at least make sure that you are in the know before you pull the trigger and buy that house. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.